Hey everybody, today we talk about the 9 distractions to a yoga practice. First we'll begin with why is this important, what are the distractions themselves, and how can we recognize them to move past them and make sure that we continue our yoga practice. Before we begin, I want to start with a quote from BKS Iyengar. He said, "To win a battle, a general surveys the terrain and the enemy and plans countermeasures. In a similar way, the yogi plans the conquest of the self." So coming back to the idea and recognition that the self is what we yogis seek to conquer. The 9 distractions. The first one, vyadi. This is the sickness of the physical body. So as one's body is sick, they're unable to practice itself. This could also be seen as an excuse. So how would we get around this? Is we make sure that we keep our bodies healthy. By keeping our bodies healthy, this is staying hydrated, this is eating well, doing our daily practice itself, we are will get away around being sick. The next one is sthayana. This is the lack of mental disposition. Lack of mental disposition could also refer to not thinking properly about or not having the right ability to be aware in some senses. So your mental disposition is like, what's your mindset in some senses? So having a poor mindset would fall under sthayana. So if you have a poor mindset, you're not going to go about and practice yoga. The third one is samsaya, or doubt or indecision. This is, so going back really quickly. So how do we make sure that we don't have the lack of mental disposition? We become more aware and sharper of our mindsets. We continue to speak to ourselves or listen to others in our with our headphones of different sayings that you say to yourself, affirmations. We say these affirmations and affirmations like, I will be at my peak performance. Affirmations like, I am very sharp. This will come around the idea of sthayana. Samsaya, doubt or indecision. Again, so doubt or indecision is you don't think you're able to do something, or you're indecisive about making something, so you won't actually decide to do your practice, or you don't know if you could finish a whole practice or something like that today. How do we get around this? Doubt. So when the idea of doubt comes up, you begin to doubt that in and of itself. You don't doubt your practice. Or if you're indecisive about something, you take a deep breath in, recognize, and then decide. Just make a decision in the sense of you surrender whatever the outcomes are going to be. Recognize both the positive and negative outcomes to your decision on both sides, and make the best decision with the information that's given to you. Recognize that's all that you have. Number 4, pramada, indifference, insensible. So this is when someone they don't really care, or they're simply not in their senses. They're not in their senses. So they're not able to feel their body. They're indifferent. They don't really care. If you notice when you're indifferent about something, you're not really in your body too much. Just like, it's a header. It's more of this part of your body of emotion. So recognizing that. How do we get around indifference or insensibility? This is where I think gratitude plays a really, really key role. So by coming back to, well, I'm grateful for this practice, or I'm grateful for anything that's going on around me. This would be a practice for myself in terms of getting around this. Number 5, alaya. This is laziness. That's as straightforward as it gets. It's like, you're just like, I don't feel like doing it. I'm being super lazy right now. What do you do to get around laziness? Having something that pushes you. So I like to put myself in situations that are so much, so I bombard myself with so many different, whether it be events or studies, what have you, that I need to get all of this done in some ways, or I need to finish all of these different things. And then it pushes me forward. So it's important to me in terms of it lets me go of laziness. Like I cannot be lazy because I've put myself into so many different commitments. Number 6, avirati, sensuality. So this refers to arousing desire when sensory objects possess the mind. So when you're really just, you're in your mind, you're just desiring things. It's like being lustful, wanting something and really wanting it, like kind of deeply. It's a very carnal type of sensuality as well. And so how would one get around this itself? Well, it's important to recognize that that desire, is that really your desire? Or are you the person or the seer? Are you the one who sees this desire in your mind? Or are you the seer of the one who sees this? And so when you come back to this level and recognize this sensuality, you recognize it for what it is. Number 7, Baranti, buying into the illusion. So understanding there's an illusion all around us. Do you buy into the illusion of everything that's going on around you? Another way of saying this would be, do you believe every single thing that is going on around you is not an illusion? It is an illusion. It's important to be aware of this. Recognize that reality is what others view with you as well. So when you're with other people, that's what you're able to sense as what reality is, because the people come to a common agreement as to what's going on around them. How do we get around buying the illusion? It's recognizing within yourself that you're not only yourself. You're everything that's going on around you. When you come back to that idea of that you are the seer, you aren't this physical body. You're the viewer of all of these things. And so coming from this idea, you're able to recognize that depending on what you choose to see, you're able to change your reality. This is over time. Alabda, failure to attain continuity of thought. So this is when you're unable to continue your thought process and flow through with it. And so how would we get around this? Well, you're seeing me experience some alabda in my social yoga right now. How do I get around this? Well, recognizing it, 1, that's why we're doing this. Coming back to the idea of the reason why these 9 are super, super important is because when we recognize these, we're able to sense them and we're like, oh yeah, that's a distraction. Okay, thank you, distraction. Here's my little solution to getting around and making sure I go forward with it. So that's, again, reiterating on the why. So how do we get around alabda? Again, the failure of certainty of continuity of thought. It's letting go of an idea of that you're caught up in a thought itself, or that you are unable to communicate well. It's simply flowing a little bit. And I found actually moving a little bit helps. So when I'll flow in like some type of kind of an S-shaped pattern, ideally, it allows me for my thoughts to flow a little bit better. So it's a recognition. And then lastly, anavasti tattva. Anavasti tattva. This is not holding on to concentration after a practice. So I love this one, actually. This is crazy because at the end of a practice, the reason they practiced yoga to begin with was so that they could loosen up the body for meditative practice. And so it would enable the yogis to sit down for long periods of time and meditate and achieve these higher states of consciousness. And so in this, when you don't hold into the concentration of the practice, after the practice itself, you're in a very meditative state. And so moving forward, you should be able, they believe that you should be able to hold on to the state, continue forward, and continue about your life, which I think it's really, really cool. So how do we get around this? This is something I have not experienced this yet. So this is, for me, what I mean by I haven't experienced this is that I haven't experienced that long pieces of concentration after a practice itself, but I have recognized that after the last about 6 to 6 to 10 hours is kind of how long a yoga class will keep me in a mindset that I'm able to go about and be okay with, not be okay, I'd say, more so just check in with the world more so. And so by doing this, I found that the every 12 hours is a perfect time for me to go about and check and practice yoga itself. So how do we get around not holding on to the concentration after a practice? Well, I guess this one we find out together. Anyways, this is what I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed, and make sure not to get distracted in your yoga practice. Hence why I do this video today, because I want to make sure that I am able to get my social yoga practice out there. Anyways, till next time, guys. Keep up, thrive, stay sexy.